Hello, and welcome to Hunter Fuel, a supernatural rewatch podcast for adults who enjoy their show with a chaser. I'm Liz.
And I'm Lynn.
Thank you so much for joining us for the season one finale, episode 22, Devil's Trap. We made it! We made it!
Yay!
We model responsible drunkenness here. All participants are way over 21. No one is pregnant. Thank you, Lord. No one will be driving, handling weapons, operating heavy machinery, or impersonating firefighters. If you're playing along with us, those are the rules. If you decide not to follow them and you do something stupid, don't blame us. Lynn, what are you drinking this evening?
I went back to a good old favorite, bourbon.
Oh, we've got some hunter fuel for you. Good choice. Good choice. The featured cocktail for this episode is Holy Water. It is 1 ounce of vodka, 1 ounce of Blanco rum, 1/2 ounce of blue curacao, 2 ounces of lemonade, and 1 ounce of pineapple juice. Shake that all up with some ice, strain, and serve. Wizard Dave, can you bring up our last official Supernatural bingo card for season one? Let's see. I I got kind of a good feeling about mine.
I don't know if I do or not.
Okay,
I
well,
might. I definitely have a couple.
as always, the first one is on the house. So, Slancha, my
Cheers.
friend.
Mm.
Oh, I like that one.
Ooh.
Oh, which means I'm probably going to have a bad card. I never had a good card for the cocktails I like.
And I'm surprised you like that one because you are not a vodka fan.
I am not a vodka fan, but I am a rum fan. So I think the rum has given the vodka a smackdown and told it to keep its cake hole shut.
Well, good
Oh, that
vodka has no flavor, which is my problem with vodka.
and my problem is it to me, I know this isn't everyone's experience, but to me it has a really unpleasant bitter aftertaste I don't care for. And
Yes.
so I'd much rather have something like tequila or rum. So let me ask you one question about your card, Lynn. Do you have a meta moment?
I am 99% certain the answer to that. Yes, I do.
Okay, we actually owe you two meta moments. We owe you one from Wendigo and one from Bloody Mary. So if you want to give yourself a meta moment, so we'll give you one that we owe you. Now let's take a quick look at yours. Is there anything on yours that definitely would not happen in
I'm almost
season?
positive we are not going to make a joke about Sam's height.
Um, well, is there anything that's something that really sort of happens in later seasons? Um, like, do you have a maybe a flutter of angel wings or um like a balls or idiots? Like
That one I have.
you have balls or idiots. Would you like to give yourself balls as your last free square that we owe you for the season? Or would you like to forfeit it? Jeopardy theme
Ooh.
is playing. Flip a coin.
You know what? Fuck it. I'm taking it.
All right. I think that is a wonderful choice. Okay, so As always, if you're going to play along, there is a link for you to generate cards of your very own on the link tree. Before we get started, so this is the second episode in a row that has a road so far segment, which is a little unusual for them to do, two back to back. This one is set to triumph, fight the good fight. I'd mentioned during Salvation that the showrunners had kind of expected this song to be the unofficial official theme song of the show, but the fans responded more favorably to Wayward Son, so that's the one that stuck. But if you listen to the lyrics of Fight the Good Fight, you can see why they picked it. It's things like running out of time, getting harder to tell right from wrong, make it worth the price that we pay. You
Hmm.
know what you've got to do all your life. You've been waiting for your chance. But you're the master of your own destiny. So you can see why this one appealed to them. And it makes a lot of sense for this episode.
Yeah.
But for the series as a whole, like most of the fandom, I'm a big fan of Carry On Wayward Son. So with that, let's get this show on the road.
Alrighty. Whee. All right.
So one of us should probably hit play.
Yeah, now I'm working on it because I'm hoping that the frowny face I have on the thing that where it's supposed to say it hit play goes away. So we are now in the recap, and it's very much a recap of the last episode where we see them just we see them leaving Salvation, and John saying that this thing is going to end tonight, and the recap of them being in the nursery and seeing that Meg is basically cornering John, and them trying to use a fake cult to win basically the boys some time while John is bringing the gun over, and and basically all that. I'm not going to recount this scene by scene because we all know what happened last episode, and
Yeah,
it's
I
sort
mean,
of
I think the big thing is, that we've, they're really hammering this, the fight between John and Sam, and and the boys being set, because remember the series started, with dad's on a hunting trip and he hasn't been home in a few days. So now they're once again searching for dad. So they're
yes,
making that connection that the season finale is ending the way the season started.
yep, yeah, very very good point. And now we see that Dean is on the phone with Meg, and it's she's made it clear that they have John,
And
and we now
look at
have a
his
Sammy.
face.
Yeah, and
Like,
he
oh
is
my
distraught.
goodness.
He is absolutely distraught, and as he has said, and has said, we've got a Sammy, and it's what are you doing, Dean? And it's we've got to go now. We they've got him, and it's just nothing else matters but getting dad back. Like everything halts now until we get dad back. So
Yeah.
and and so he basically and now we have a baby's tire squeal. So I'm gonna pause this and so we can
Yeah,
start and go.
we've got a couple things here that we can look at. So that was they were in a quirky motel room, so we have
Yep,
that. Dean calls Sam Sammy, and we have a tire squeal. So we're looking for three things. We're looking for motel room, Sammy, and baby's tire squeal. Let's see what we've
yep,
got
and I
here.
have the tire squeal. I think I
I
have.
do as well. I
Yeah,
have Dean calls Sam Sammy,
me too.
and
I don't think I have a
I
quirky motel room.
I don't appear to either.
Oh.
Um, Double checking. No, I have a wacky diner. I don't have a quirky motel room. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that is
Well,
to us. And I've got to
cheers.
catch up with you. Cheers. So before we hit play again, I do think it's kind of neat because the scene that we just saw is, where one of the brothers has gotten a phone call,
Mm-hmm.
and the prior episode ended on that cliffhanger phone call, and now we're picking it back up exactly where we left off, is very much like the mid-season finale, with Asylum, and then
Mm-hmm.
it started back up with Scarecrow. So it's kind of fun that they're bridging that. And holy crap, both of them do some really great performances there. They don't have a lot of time, and I mean, you can just see the abject terror
Oh
on
yeah.
Dean's face. And remember from the previous episode, they just had that big fight, which was the
Mm-hmm.
tie back to the pilot about, the um, no matter what we do, we can't bring them back. Don't you
Yeah.
say that, boom. So it's they're making a lot of connections here. Um, so the other thing I wanted to bring up is that the original plot for this episode was supposed to be Dean getting kidnapped and Sam and John having to work together to get him back. And so the two of them having to put aside all of these, all of their headbutting to work together to get Dean back. But Jeffrey Dean Morgan was contracted to, I just lost the name of it, Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
And so they had to work around the Grey's Anatomy shooting schedule. So they knew they were only going to be able to get him for a day or two. They're like, well, okay, we've got to crumble that script up and start over. But it ended up making a really nice bridge because again, now you've got the season finale working in kind of the same way as the season opener.
I was gonna
Um,
say
so it,
it's a great bookend. Like it
it
actually
is.
it works better.
I agree. I think it's one of those happy accidents that
Yeah.
their original plan, it would have been great. It would have been fine, but they had a monkey wrench in the works, and what they came up with to overcome that monkey wrench was I think better than what they started with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, all right, so the only other thing I'm going to mention is um, Sam missed. Well, he didn't miss. He fired very squarely at the yellow-eyed demon who went poof
Yep.
out of the way before the bullet hit him. Um, so they only have three bullets left, and they
Yep.
made that point. Dad made that point in the previous episode that you've got to make every shot count because without the bullets, the gun is useless.
Yep. And that becomes a real key thing
Hmm.
later on in this episode.
Yeah, so kind of keep a tally in your head of how many bullets they've got. Okay, I'm gonna stop yammering there. I'm gonna hit play, and as this thing is starting to get moving, the song that's playing is "Turned to Stone" by Joe Walsh.
Yeah. So they are in the car and they are trying to decide like okay what realistically has happened here and Dean and they're like we still have the cult and Dean is like screw the job and Sam is like yeah but he would want us to keep going and it's stop talking about him like he's already dead.
Yes, yes. Sam has convinced himself that John is dead. John is gone. This is all over. All we have left is revenge. So he's reacting to John's disappearance very much like he reacted to Jess's death. And
Yeah.
Dean is focused completely on getting Dad back. And so he
Yeah.
decides they need help.
Yeah, which I think what I find very I just want to pause this just for a second here. What I find very interesting about that is I feel like the two of them almost temporarily switch, I'm going to say, roles or places in that moment, because usually we see Dean being the impulsive one and Sam being the methodical, like thinking things through thing. And I feel like they almost switch places in that particular scene, whereas Dean is the one really thinking this out, where we need a plan. Like, in my gut, dad is still alive. We have the cult. We've got to do this right. And I feel like Sam's just going off impulse here. And that's usually a Dean thing. That's not
Yeah,
usually
you're
a
not
Sam
wrong.
thing. So
You're
I
not
like
wrong.
the two of them
Yes.
flipped.
Yes, I've heard you. I think what's really interesting here is that this throws Sam, and again, it's something um Dean set out deliberately to emulate his father. You know, he drives his dad's car. He listens to his dad's music. But the one who's really like John is Sam. And so he's reacting to this the way John reacted to Mary's death. So you're right. You know, both boys, um, what they present to the world isn't always what's going on inside.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I think you're right. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit play here. So we're at Singer
Yep.
Salvage and Auto, and we've got this good look at this dog here. We're gonna learn
Yeah.
in a minute that this dog's name is Rumsfeld.
Bill. Yep.
And Rumsfeld was he was the um
The
oh my
Secretary of
goodness.
Defense.
He was the Secretary of Defense. Here it is. I'm trying to find my notes. They're shuffled around a bit.
Yep.
So he was the Secretary of Defense under President Ford in the 70s, and again under the first President Bush in the aughts. He was a controversial figure, and when he died, the Atlantic declared him the worst Secretary of Defense in American history, which is a really interesting thing for Bobby to have named a guard dog. I
So
think
yeah.
I think that's kind of cute. It tells us something about Bobby.
So, and also make note of that symbol. So like this is the
Yes,
first time we are seeing Bobby, and Bobby becomes a huge character, even though
does.
he's not a he, he's reoccurring, but he's
It's
awfully
recurring.
frequent for reoccurring.
Yeah,
But
he is.
he is a huge father type figure to the boys.
He is absolutely, absolutely. And
So
I think he says something really interesting here about, well, one, they they have that great conversation about, they weren't sure if they should come to him because the last time they were there, he and John had a giant fight. And his response is, "What can I say? John just has that effect on people."
yeah, which
We had
which
also
we
seen it. Go
yeah,
ahead.
which we hear quite often.
Exactly. So that was something that came up in Dead Man's Blood, that John and Daniel Elkins had a falling out. So this is clearly something that happens a lot.
So
Um,
one thing just before we get, I paused it briefly just because before we get much farther, the one thing I did want to point out is the actor who plays Bobby Singer. His name
Jim
is
Beaver.
James Norman Beaver Jr.
Yes,
And
Beaver.
he was in, I mean, he's been in a number of
Everything.
things. Third Rock from the
Everything.
Sun, if you are a daytime fan, you'll recognize him from Young and the Restless. He was also in Days of Our Lives, which of course we know Jensen Ackles was also in. So now
They had
whether
scenes together. Let me rephrase. They were in the same scene. They had no lines together. So they sort of worked, sort of didn't work together. Sort of, not really.
so needless to say, they've this is not the first time the two actors have met each other by any stretch, and definitely James has been around for a while. So, anyways, I'm
Oh yeah,
hitting play.
no, Jim Beaver's amazing. He
Yeah.
really is.
So, hitting play here right as Dean gets thrown into a wall.
Yeah, we've got a
Or
lot of stuff here. So Meg has arrived. Poor Rumsfeld, R.I.P. We've got Meg kicks in the door. Dean is thrown against the wall. Dean is knocked out. And I'm going to suggest that we let this play on for a second because we're about to get one more.
yeah.
And I love this,
Mhm.
like the way that she stalks them, and she's like, no more games. Like, oh, Nicki
Mhm.
Aycox is amazing. She's such a gifted actor. Such a tragic loss.
Yeah, and I love this. Did you really think I wouldn't find you? And Dean walks in behind him and says, "Actually, we were counting on it."
Yeah,
And she realizes she has walked right into a devil's trap as his eyes go up, and she realizes she's standing right
right in it.
underneath it. And he goes, "Gotcha." I love that. Just the look on his face is brilliant.
I do. I agree. I love that. And that shot of like we've paused it right on the title card here. That shot of with the camera low up along her body so that we see like her chin line and the ceiling. That's a shot we're going to see again. Like that's part of the visual storytelling language of the show. It's a great shot. Um Okay, we've got quite a bit to look for here. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so we have Meg kicks in a door. So we've got a door kick, somebody thrown against the wall, somebody gets knocked out, and a demon stuck in a devil's trap. So we're looking for four here.
So yeah, so I have a
Um,
demon stuck in a devil's trap.
okay, grab that.
Yep.
Squirrel. Oh my goodness, I don't have any. There's supposed to be four of
That's the
them.
only one I've got.
That is some bullshit right there. All right, well, I'm feeling cheated,
Well, that just
and
means you have to have a shot with me.
I can't let you drink alone.
No. Cheers.
Mm, cheers. So while we have a pause, there's something coming up here. This is a conversation they have somewhat. So this is an interesting conversation. Let me say this, and it's something that doesn't really come up again in the show after this. But this question of, is Meg a demon or is she a human being possessed by a demon? And that's something the show is going to decide that there is no such thing. That all demons require a vessel. They like all, which they very very delicately call a meat suit. So this conversation is something that is not going to be an issue going forward. All right, here we go. Hit and play.
Yeah. So we now see Meg all tied up, and she's like,
She's
"Well, if
tied
you
up.
guys wanted me tied up, all you had to do was ask." I love that.
It was asked. I Nikki Aycox, man, so like she's terrifying. Like I think she weighs 85 pounds and she is terrifying.
Oh yeah. Nah. I always say just because you are vertically challenged, don't underestimate short the shorter people.
Oh no, I mean, just, oh goodness, her performance here is so good. She's just absolutely creepy.
Yeah, and so yeah, they're trying to say like, okay, where is that? And she is trying her damnedest to make them believe that she has killed their father, and Dean is not buying it.
No, and he
And
hauls off and he just belts her. He just
yep,
belts her straight across the face. And I
and
do think that they have to make this little thing like you're no girl. You know, like the visual of Dean beating a woman, it like they've got to address that.
yeah, so yeah, they make the I love comment of that there's an innocent girl trapped in that
Yeah.
body there.
Yep. And this is a great conversation too, where they're talking about like the morality of performing an exorcism. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if the only thing keeping the body alive is the demon inside it, is it morally right? Because I mean, this woman is going to die. If they exorcise Meg out of her body, she's going to die. Is it the right thing to do? And I just think that's a great conversation. We do have an exorcism here. And the other thing I think is interesting is I would call this torture. And the idea that, I mean, she's screaming, they're doing it to get information out of her. But the idea that like hell is such a terrible place that even demons don't want to be there. And that the act of sending a demon out of a vessel it is torturous to them. I mean, like we're gonna see in a minute, like she's getting thrown around, like this gets ugly. So I
Mm-hmm.
personally I would call this torture.
I could definitely get convinced of that.
Yeah. I'll twist your arm.
I
Yeah, I mean, look at her. She's in pain.
mm-hmm. Well, I was gonna say there was another scene later that I was gonna name as torture. So
Yeah,
in my
there is
so
another
there
one later.
yeah so so yeah so we were going to have a torture on the books regardless.
Regardless.
So yeah, so she's like, for your, I love this, for your sake, I hope you're lying, because otherwise I'll march in there myself and slaughter you
What are you
and all the
all?
evil sons of bitches. Which
Yep. So we have a son of a bitch. And
I was gonna
man,
say, I'm
Jesse
like,
is
does
so
that
good
count as
here.
a son of a? I was trying
Yeah,
to, so I was having a debate with myself as to whether that
it's
counted.
plural. It's plural. It's the and I they get brownie points for pluralizing son of a bitch correctly. So a lot of people say son of a bitches. If you're watching this and that's how you say it, stop it. Sons of bitches. Oh my goodness, Jensen is so good.
Yeah,
Like, like he's right in her face, and you could see like if John is dead, he's gonna take it out of her. Like this is such a great scene. I love all three actors. There's some great performances here.
yeah, and just oh, just I get that, and you see the morality in Sam's face here of
Yeah,
like, are
he's
we
not
doing the
comfortable.
right thing? Like
Yeah,
he is absolutely hesitant
yeah,
and is
absolutely.
just sort of following his brother's following his
Yeah,
brother's lead. And
yeah, I completely agree. Now we've got an electronics flicker here, which we'll stop in a second and we'll check for those four. Um, but yeah, and I love Dean's position of it really that like, okay, that if the girl dies, if we exorcise this demon, then it's better than leaving her possessed.
yeah,
Yeah, and this is something that we're gonna see from Dean again later in the series that he's always going to prefer if your choice is to become a monster, or to die human, he will always choose dying human. Again, I think this is a great conversation where, you know, I almost called him Jim. That's Gabby is, like she fell off a building. There's no way the vessel survives this. There's um, and he does have this position here. He's like, well, then we're not going to leave her in misery being possessed. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Sam is really struggling with this. He sees more nuance to this than to your earlier point about them switching places. That he
Mm-hmm.
sees a nuance here that I think Dean is not interested in seeing.
So, and Nicki Aycox, and she's just playing this. She is playing this beautifully.
Oh yeah, she
Oh my,
committed. She
yeah.
really committed. And they've like the way that they kind of jump cut this, so like her motions are very sort of jerky and unnatural. It's beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Um, ugh,
Oh,
and then she slumps over and she just you see the like the blood just kind of drool out of her mouth. And I'm bringing all this up for a reason.
well, yeah. No, I mean it's just the visual of just, and I love how I love what she says in a minute here, and I think I can confidently say it's no longer a spoiler because she's about to say it. Is she thanks them?
Yeah. Yeah, that
Yeah,
she gives them that comfort that they made the right call for her.
yeah.
Um, and it's something I was thinking about this in terms of like, this is a weird analogy. Hang on with me a second here. But like
I
when I
usually
took
do.
part, I know my
Actually, I
analogies are
always
weird.
do.
I say my analogies are always weird, and you always hang with me. Um, but like when I took first aid, we talked about like consent, that a person has the right to decline treatment. But the moment they pass out, you must assume they would have wanted you to help them.
Mm,
And I think about that in terms of possession, that like you have to make the assumption that were the person in control of themselves, they would want you to help them.
yeah.
And again, that's something we're going to see come up again in the series. Um,
So,
oh boy, she's so amazing.
yes, she is. Uh, and of course, and she's able to just give them. She mentions that their father is by the river, and something about sunrise, and it's just and miraculously they not a spoiler because we're about to see it in 5 minutes. It's just enough. So like
Yeah,
as much as crazy as it was,
her death
like
means something.
yeah,
That
yeah,
she doesn't die for nothing.
no.
That they're able to take what she gives them and use it to save lives. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's a great point. Um, yeah, and here she just dies in their arms.
Aw.
Um,
God,
oh,
she
and
even
this is
dies
Kim
well
Matters. I'm
too.
gonna pause it here. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said she even dies well too. Good
No,
grief.
oh my goodness, she's amazing. Um, so yeah, we've got some stuff to look for here.
Yep.
So we have an exorcism. We've decided we're gonna call this torture. Thank you for going with me on it. We have a son of a bitch and an electronics flicker.
All right. So
Let's see,
I have an
exorcisms,
elect.
torture.
I. Oh wait a minute. We have electronics flicker and we have an
I do.
exorcism. I
Yep,
have five in a row
exorcism.
technically.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
I'm having a hard time calling that bingo
Shut up.
Is that the way you say it? That's a bingo.
because It includes using the balls and the idiots,
You just say bingo.
which is technically from an old one, and it was technically like an old thing. So
You know what?
it didn't happen in this episode.
Don't make me get in my car, drive over there, and slap you upside your head, woman. Like we didn't know what you were going to get when you picked that. You, for the first time this season, one of us has five in a row, and I am not going to let you take that away from us.
Bingo! How fun!
Delina is technically now you're cut off. And we're only 10 minutes into the episode. But I am going to celebrate your victory, my friend. Congratulations.
Oh my god, you are too fucking funny. One of the many reasons I love you.
All right, well, I'm going to continue to play and see if I can catch up with you. And if you want to, okay,
Listen,
now the rules are when you get five in a row, you're cut off. But we are grown ass adults.
and I
It,
and I've
it,
been having small ones.
actually,
Well, we will see because I've got at least
oh, I do have son of a
two.
bitch. Was it? Well, and we're about to get a dude while we're here. I'm just gonna look, and I don't have that either. My earlier confidence may have been overstated. So let's see.
Let's say I should. I'm
Yeah,
fairly
no, I just
certain.
have those two. I have son of a bitch and someone performs an exorcism.
Yep, and I'm gonna get at least one, maybe. No, I have two more.
All right. Well, we're gonna play on here.
Do you realize if there had been a pie in here, I'd get five in a row twice? I know,
I
shut
do
up.
think here, I say I'm going to ignore you. So I do think here, so when Meg was dying, they told Bobby call the ambulance. If I were a betting woman, I would say he did not call the ambulance. That if I were Bobby, I would just bury her in the salvage yard. And like I think he just doesn't want to tell the boys that he's not. Because I mean, seriously, how do you explain that? You're a dude who lives alone in a salvage yard, and you've got a 20 something hot chick who's had every bone in her body broken, dead in your living room. Nobody's that good of a liar. So I think he
No,
lies to the boys here, and
if
and
he
he just buries
doesn't,
her in the
he's
yard.
kind of an idiot.
And Bobby Singer is no idiot.
No, no. So,
All right.
oh,
Well, they're gearing up.
yeah. So they argue, and that symbol. Now this cracks me up. So Sam is looking at the symbol, and he now starts drawing on the car, which of course Dean is
He's
like,
doing
"What the fuck are you doing?"
he's like, "Eek, eek, eek, eek," like he's broke the mark out with his thumb. Like, what are you
So yeah, so Sam has an actually pretty good idea to
doing? This is an
hide the
excellent
colt
idea.
in the car, and then this way the demons can't get at the colt, which is actually a pretty damn good idea.
Oh, it's a great idea, but this
But
resurrects this argument, right? Because Sam again is fixated on getting revenge on the yellow-eyed demon. So he wants to hold the gun in reserve because he knows they only have three bullets left. Dean wants to get Dad out and
yeah,
back. and he doesn't care if they use every single bullet they have to accomplish that. And again, keep in mind, this is first season. So just a couple of episodes ago, they were looking at one demon going, man, this is too big for us. Now they know they've got a building chock full of them, that they've got to get through to get to their dad. They're scared. Like they don't know how to do this. This, and Bobby even says it earlier that Bobby is something of a demon expert, but it's not
Yeah.
something that hunters deal with regularly. So they are out of their depth, and Dean does not want to give up the one advantage he knows they have.
Yeah. Now, in fact, I Bobby makes the comment that usually there are 3 demonic possessions in a given year, and this year he's heard about 27 of them.
So
So,
far, yeah,
just a
thumbs up.
slight increase, just a little bit of
Yeah,
one.
the needle has twitched slightly.
Yeah,
Um,
just ever so slowly.
and
So, and
now
then,
I
and now we discover that they're walking the river, and he goes, "I think we now know what she meant by sunrise. Is there's a apartment complex called Sunrise on the river," and he
Now, I
goes,
do think
and
this is a little funny before we move on here is so Sam has convinced Dean to leave the gun in the trunk, but Sam's not too bright here, and he walks away while the trunk is still open.
yeah,
So
yeah. If
Dean's like, yeah,
anyone
yeah, I'll leave it behind.
actually believes that Dean closed
Would leave
the
it
trunk
behind.
with the gun in it, you don't know Dean very well.
No, no, yeah, he's not so smart here. But as you said, now they're at the Sunrise Apartments and
Now,
they've
this
got a
scene
plan.
bugs me.
Tell me about this.
There's a call box
Right.
with an unlocked door, and he just saunters in.
That bothers me too. Yeah, that I would have
Wow,
liked it a lot better if like he had kind of hung back and so this guy that walks away, if he had like waited for that guy to go through and then kind of hopped through the door, I would have liked that a lot better.
or picked a lock. They're no, like, they have an arsenal in their pocket to pick locks. Like, they were extremely good at it. Like, that was the most unrealistic entry. Come on.
I don't disagree with you at all. I wish they'd done that a little different. Although we do get a consolation prize here with John Winchester tied spread eagle to a bed. So, you know, there's a little something.
Now, I gotta say though, if I had a choice now between John Winchester and say Dean tied spread eagle
Oh,
to a bed, I know which one I
oh,
would have picked personally.
but
But
absolutely, absolutely. But I wouldn't throw any of the three of them out of bed. So,
that is
it's a nice little visual there.
yes,
Um, and to your point earlier, here we've got
yeah.
Sam picking a lock.
So yeah, so and then we get to the other thing that I've decided bugs me.
Well, we've got
Uh,
an EMF detector here.
Hector,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So what else bugs you here?
Well, you'll see it in about 2 minutes here.
Okay, so while we're waiting on that, there's this fun little line here about so they've picked the lock on the fire truck. They've
Yeah,
stolen turnout gear. And as they're walking around the building looking for demon sign with the EMF detector, Dean tells Sam that he wanted to be a firefighter when he grew up. A
yeah.
long time from now, we're going to get an opportunity, slight spoiler alert, to visit Dean's childhood bedroom, and there will be a child's fire hat displayed prominently in his room. So I think that's a cute little thing there.
So
Um,
so the other thing that annoys the crap out of me. So hold on, I'm just pausing this for a very brief second. If my mouse would decide
okay,
to
because
go
I love
down to
this
the
scene. So tell me what it is that bothers you about this, because I think it's great.
oh, it's a great scene. Don't get me wrong, but now, and I'm fully aware that the boys make their own holy water. Not a
Yes.
problem there. But you generally do have to get like the rosary into the water and say the thing to make the holy water,
Right.
those are sealed canisters that are then air pumped. How the hell did they turn that into holy water in what, the 2.1 seconds that they had to put that turnout gear on?
They are just that good. Well,
No one's that good and that
it was in the
fast.
script. It was
Yeah,
in the
I
script.
know, but just when I watched it,
No,
I was like, okay, there are other times that, okay, I was suspending disbelief. That made sense. That made sense. That one doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, yeah,
I
no.
I understand where you're coming from. And the funny part is, so my father was a firefighter, and the part that bothers me is they're wearing the turnout coats and not the pants. And again, it's for expediency. Like they just wouldn't have time. You
Yeah.
know, like they've only got 42 minutes for storytelling. We don't have 5 minutes to watch them, put on and take off their turnout gear. Um, but I thought honestly the holy water cannons were a good idea. I understand where you're coming from, and I don't disagree that they really probably didn't have time to sanctify the water in the pressurized containers. But I thought it was a really good weapon, and the fact that
Oh,
they
it's
don't use it
brilliant.
again after this, I think it bothers me more than them not really have had it have having whatever the past tense is, them not really having the time in between scenes uh to sanctify it. I see where you're coming from, but I just thought it was so good I overlooked it.
Yeah, no,
Um
and it's a brilliant weapon. Absolutely brilliant weapon.
yeah, I wish they'd used it more. So I'm gonna hit play here because we're about to watch Sam pour a salt line.
Hmm.
Um and so we're gonna have to pause it in just a second to get for pick a lock EMF detector and Sam pours a salt line. But what they've done essentially is take the demons guarding dad and chuck them in a closet and barred it with salt.
Yeah, so
Um,
the demons must like sense the salt and know to
yeah,
stop fighting,
I was thinking that
because
too.
yeah, they all of a sudden it's like
Yep.
they fight, salt line, boom, no fight. It's like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Dean's screaming, hurry up. They're hammering on the door. I love this performance from Jared Padalecki here because they don't know if John is still alive or not. And you can see Sam like holding his breath. And the second Dean says he's still alive, he's like, "Ah," you can see the relief wash over him. Um, and here comes Sam with another thing of holy water, like
Hmm.
let's make sure dad is not possessed. So he's thinking it through when Dean just is so excited to get his dad back. He just wants to cut him loose.
Yeah, which is, now they're back to behaving like themselves again. Like
Yep.
one's
Now that they
thinking,
have
one is
dad back.
actually thinking it through. One, the
Yeah.
the impulsive one is being the impulse. Like that now,
Right.
it's like, okay, thank you. You went back to your own bodies again.
Yeah. 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 Well, not everybody is in their own body, but we'll get there. And the
You know
very
what I meant.
yeah, but I did. I'm teasing you. The
Yeah.
second question John asks is where's the cult? Like kind of the very first important thing he asks them is where's the cult? This is interesting to me too here. So we cut outside to the crowd and we see two men be possessed by demons, but there's no sign of the black smoke that we'd
Yeah,
seen in Phantom Traveler.
which I thought was kind of interesting. I
It
can't
is
just can't decide whether that bothers me or not, or
it well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
as to whether Phantom Traveler was making it too obvious and this one's trying to be more subtle, or whether they're not all the same way, or like I'm like,
Well, that's a good
okay,
question.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
so
something. So from this point forward, every time someone's possessed, there will be demon smoke. So this is. this is the point in the show still where they're trying to figure out their lore, really. Oh my goodness. So this demon
Uh,
tackles Sam. Dean hauls off and just kicks him square in the face. And he barely even flinches. And then he tosses Dean right into a windshield, which I love that shot of Dean crashing into the windshield.
hmm
This is a gorgeous shot here where
Yeah.
the
Oh god.
the rack focus along the gun. So it starts with the gun with the smoke coming out of the barrel, and then it just, the focus just slides up Dean's arm to his face. Beautiful
Oh,
shot.
such a good shot. Like,
Yeah,
oh, that was masterful.
gorgeous. Really good. That's Kim Manners. It's just a gorgeous shot. So if you're
Mm,
counting now, Dean has used one of their three bullets. So they
Yeah.
now have two left.
Yeah, and then so now they are like, okay, let's get the hell out of here.
Yeah,
And just thinking that they are, I wouldn't call it in the clear, but sort of in the clear. So now they're just trying to find
they're
a
escaping.
place where they can hide and
Yep.
recover and all that. So
Yeah.
they're in a cabin that's about, in their opinion, as far out of the way as they can get.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I've paused it here. So we're looking for a couple of things on our supernatural game cards. We're looking for Sam picks a lock, an EMF detector, somebody pours a salt line, and for the very first time in the series, the Americana theme plays here.
Yeah,
So
so
this is a big moment here. Okay, let's
I know
see.
technically I'm cut off, but I don't care.
You're
Uh,
a grown ass woman. I've got pick a lock.
I've got pick a lock,
I have
and
someone pours a salt line.
I do not.
Creepy kid, bird body. I have an
Oh,
EMF
wait a minute. I do
detector.
have the Americana theme song.
Oh, good. Good for you. I do not. So I have three of those.
I was gonna
And you know what?
say, and then someone
Since we're
pours a salt
here, I'm
line,
gonna give
and
myself a heartfelt bromance as well, because we're about to see one of
I was
those.
gonna say I have a heartfelt bro moment, and I know we're about to
Okay.
have one.
Yeah, give yourself one of those. So let me just double check here. I have one of the boys gets tied up, but it's John, not one of the boys. So I'm not going to count that. Okay, so I have lockpick, heartfelt bromance, salt line, and EMF detector. So
Yeah, I do
I'm going
not
to
have the
pour
other
myself a
ones, but
big
I know I will get absolutely zero sympathy.
none.
I know, absolutely none. I'm thoroughly aware of that.
Not the barest smidgen.
You know, you love
All right.
me.
I love you very much. All right. Hitting
All right.
play. So the first thing that we see Sam doing is pouring the salt lines in front of the
Yeah.
doors and the windows.
Sorry,
And
I just
at
had to
this
have the
moment
smidge.
right now, Dean is in the very best shape because and you can see Sam's beat to hell.
Mm-hmm.
And John is drugged slash tortured. So he's not in very good shape.
No.
And Dean is relatively unscathed so far.
I love this conversation
This
right
is a great
here
conversation
between
here.
the boys
I agree.
of just Sam trying to just say, you saved my life back there, thank you. And he's like, well,
Yeah.
I'm glad you're glad that I brought the gun. He's like, dude, I'm just trying to thank you here.
Yeah. Yeah. See, because you see Dean trying to deflect
Yeah.
anything that's kind of emotionally weighty. Again, like great performance here from Jensen.
Yeah.
And what I love about this is we've got this, uh, it's almost a confession from Dean to his brother about, the things I'm willing to do or to kill for this family, like it scares me. Um, and the
I love,
reason I mention it, go ahead.
that's one of my favorite conversations.
Yeah, this is fantastic. The reason I bring it up, and then please feel free to you know add add your color to it, is if you remember back in Bloody Mary, we had a conversation about Dean having some kind of a secret, and it had to have been, because she was attacking people who had hidden a murder. And we had a conversation in that episode speculating what that might be, and I made my pitch. um, Eric Kripke had said, he that Dean was hiding a secret that would be revealed at some point, and they never did. So Eric Kripke wrote this episode, and so I believe that this is a moment that was dropping a breadcrumb for this secret when it ultimately got revealed, but it never did.
Yeah.
So I think that's an interesting moment there.
Mm-hmm.
And
And I
watch
love,
Dean's face. Go ahead.
yeah. Now I love that, and we have another electronics flicker, and he suddenly Dean puts it all together in that
Yeah,
moment.
I'm going to pause this for a second. Go ahead.
Now I love that because he has, you can tell that something's been bothering him for a while, and you can see it because he's like, "You're not mad that I used the bullet," and he's like, "I'm not mad. I'm proud." And then right then the
Yes.
lights flicker, and he's like, "Wait a second here."
Yeah.
And I feel
Dean's
like he's suddenly
face.
putting all the pieces together.
Dean's face when John says he's proud of him, he flinches. Like Dean visibly flinches to hear his father say that he's proud, which is the same reaction that Sam had back in Phantom Traveler. Yeah, that like these guys did not hear pride from their father, and it's a big giant clue to Dean that something is not right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm hitting play, still trying to hit play. There it goes. And the very
And
first
then,
thing John does is separate them, right? He sends Sam
yeah,
to salt the
yeah,
windows. And Sam's like, I already salted the windows. Well, check it. Like the first thing he wants to do is get Dean alone. And
yep. And then
very
he
first
wants,
thing he wants is the Colt.
yep. And Dean suddenly goes, "Nope." Like the
You're not
suspicion
my
is
dad.
written all over his face.
And he backs up. Yeah,
Yep.
this is a great scene between the two of them.
So yeah, and he suddenly he's like, "You're not." This is, he sort of says, "You're not my father," without saying it, by just,
No, he does. He says, You're not my dad.
yeah.
Like, I know
Well,
my dad
I
better
mean, he
than
does
anybody.
eventually, but he first starts by saying,
Yep.
he starts by saying he'd be pissed.
He'd
He'd
be
be
furious.
ripping
I
at me.
wasted a bullet. He wasted a bullet saving his brother.
Yeah. And what I love about this is that you watch Sam, who's watching
Yes.
this go down, of like, wait a minute, what the fuck did I just walk into? And it's like, who do I believe? Who do I believe? And after about a second, he's suddenly like, wait a second. When push comes to shove, he sides with his father. He sides with Dean. Sorry,
Besides with
got tongue
Dean.
tied there.
No. And okay, I'm not going to say much here, but Sam has a choice to believe his brother or to listen to his brother or a demon, and he chooses his brother. It- File that away. We're gonna talk about that again a couple of seasons from now.
So yeah, so but then in a key moment, Dean second guesses himself
Yeah, he
and
can't shoot
gets
his dad.
no, he just can't do it.
Right.
Now it
Oh,
now in
go
my
ahead.
see now where I would have said the torture really comes came in isn't in about 2 minutes here. And
Well,
actually it
yeah,
might not even be.
yeah. I mean, this is definitely torturous here.
I
You know,
love that. But the holy water, do you think something like that could affect something like me?
yeah,
And and Sam's like, I'm gonna kill you, and he's like, oh, wouldn't that be a neat trick? Here, go ahead, psychic boy. And it's like the he uses the boy's worst fears and like insecurities against both of them.
yeah, you're absolutely right. And what I love here is he's trying to prod Sam into using his powers. Um, so that I think that's kind of great. The other thing that I like about this is every time the yellow-eyed demon goes towards Sam, Dean antagonizes him to get his attention back on Dean. And Jensen's performance is amazing here because whenever the demon's back is turned, like he's terrified. Like his lip is quivering. He's terrified. And the second the demon's eyes are on him, he's like stone-faced. And he's able to flip back and forth between those two displays it really seamlessly. It's some gorgeous acting from him. All three of these actors are just knocking it out of the park.
Mm-hmm. And this is when you find out that Meg and the guy that they shot are the yellow eyed demon's children.
Yes. Yeah,
And
that's what he claims.
yeah, that's what he claims. And he's like, well, you would never know what it's like to have your family killed. Oh, wait a minute. That's right. Yes, you
I
do. But two wrongs don't make it right. He goes, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. Yeah, there's great stuff going on here. And the other thing that I think is really extraordinary about this is those yellow contacts were opaque. So Jeffrey Dean Morgan can't see a fucking thing. And you can't tell. Like he's able to just act through it and he does a fantastic job. Um
Oh, I
I
love
mean
this.
this is
And all the other children like you.
yes, big
So
bomb drop here.
yeah, so you know that that Sam is not the only one. And he makes it known that Sam was about to propose. And that was why Jess had to die. Because Jess
Yeah.
was a distraction.
Yeah, so we've got two kind of big reveals here. I mean, this is a very talk heavy scene, and if any of these three actors were not carrying their weight, this would be boring as shit. But the big bomb drop of it is yeah, there's more kids with these abilities than just Sam. And that whatever the demon is planning, that their mother and Sam's girlfriend Jess were both killed because they were in the way of it.
Oh,
So again, back in Phantom Traveler, Dean had said, demons don't want anything. They just want destruction and chaos. But we're getting this sense that, like, no, there's something bigger at play here.
oh. And now we're watching the demon is torturing Dean. He's literally ripping him apart, and you hear Dean saying, "Dad, don't do this. Don't let it kill
Yeah.
me." And you see Sam trying to use his powers, or at least
Yeah.
definitely given the impression to get the
Yeah, I agree.
cult to to kill this thing because the yellow eye demon is just
It's
destroying,
it's tearing Dean
destroying.
apart.
Yeah,
And so there are two things I want to point out here. One is again, Dean slumps and the blood drools out of his mouth, just like we saw with Meg at the beginning. And you know what? I'm going to pause this really quickly.
wow, you
And
paused it at an amazing spot.
so you can't see this, but I have coincidentally paused it right where the camera is in Jeffrey Dean Morgan's crotch. So complete accident, I swear.
I was actually looking at the bullet hole that has been made and the
Oh,
light that you can kind of see. I wasn't even
sure.
looking at that. I was looking at the bullet hole and the fact that the light had just come through.
Of course you were. But the reason I have paused it here is not to look at the bullet hole. It's, I didn't want to get too far because it's so I think something we're going to see again repeated in the show is this theme of someone being possessed by something, watching someone they love suffer, and um the the strong emotion that gets raised watching someone they love suffer gives them the strength to throw off the possession. So this is the first time that we see this. It won't be the last. Um, okay, talked about that. So again, when we have a
We had a
weapon drop,
weapon
Wizard
drop.
Dave has told us. So you know what? Did we miss anything else here? Yeah, we've got a
As I say,
weapon drop.
I'm looking at my notes as well. Oh yes,
I
I
have,
even
go ahead, I'm sorry.
now, and I even did have that Dean dropped his weapon, and we got talking so much that I didn't look
Skip
down.
it. You know what? I likewise. Okay, so I do have one of the boys drops his weapon, and you know what? Just because we're close to the end of the episode here, and I don't want to pause it again, we're also about to see Sam drive baby, and that's going to be our last square.
All
I
right.
do not have that one.
Well, let's hear. I have one of the boys drops their weapon,
I do. I have
and
that one. Cheers.
I say I am going to be. Well, I was supposed to be cut off a while ago, and I think I need to be, because I can't talk. Da, da, Yep. No, I am good.
Okay. So, before we hit play here, I just want to keep looking at this great bullet hole effect. Um, we have again, so the beginning and the end of the episode, we have the boys interacting with the demon. So we've got this bookend on the episode. And Meg, when she, again, when the exorcism was over and she like slumps forward and
Yeah.
we've got the blood. Um, Remember, she had been dropped off of a building.
Yep.
So it gives us an indication of how really catastrophic Dean's injuries are here. Um, so, okay, hitting
Yeah.
play,
Yeah.
Sam has shot Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Morgan. Yep. Yep.
Sam has
And
shot the yellow-eyed demon in the leg, which is what we were paused on earlier.
yep. And so Sam has gone right over to Dean, who is
Yes.
instructing him to go check on Dad.
Yeah.
And so we're
And the
about to
first thing Sam
see.
says is, "Oh, geez, you've lost a lot of blood. Like this is bad."
Yeah. And you see Jeffrey D. Morgan go, it's still alive in me. I can feel it. Shoot me. Shoot me,
Yep.
damn it. Shoot me. Do it now. You've got
Yep.
to do it. And you see her stand, and you hear Dean going, don't do it. Don't do it. And the dad goes, I can't hold it much longer. Just frickin' do it. Shoot me, and just kill me. And Dean going, please don't do it. Don't
Yeah.
do it. And
Yeah. They
Jeffrey
draw
Dean
this
Morgan,
out.
John going, do it, do it, do it. And
Yeah.
and Sam just can't do it.
No,
And
the demon
John can't
escaped.
hold it any longer. And you see the yellow eyed demon come just he's just pouring out of his mouth, and they've
Yeah.
lost their window to shoot him. And he's like,
Oh,
why
yeah.
couldn't you just shoot me? And
And this
he's like,
look from John, where like he spent 22 years trying to kill this thing and they
eh,
lost their shot. And he's devastated.
yeah. Or, you know what? I'm going to hold that thought. Um, Thinking of holding things away. So then they say the hospital's only 10 minutes away. And he
Yeah.
says, I'm surprised at you. Why didn't you kill it? I thought we saw eye to eye on this, that this comes before everything. And Sam looks in the mirror and sees it and goes, no, sir, not before everything.
Yeah. He looks at
And
his brother in the rearview mirror and he's like, no, not it,
no,
which is what Dean had said to him
yeah,
back in Shadow, that
yeah,
if this thing costs you your life, I hope we never find it.
yeah. And right as he says that, an
Boom.
18-wheeler just collides with
Boom.
them and completely takes the car out. And you realize that the driver of the 18-wheeler is possessed.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that crash in a minute, but we just have a couple seconds left in the episode here.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
and
Dave
you
has
and
been
you
brought.
realize that all of them are in really rough shape.
Yeah. So, like, and this is it. Yeah, like the car has been hit by an 18-wheeler. None of the
Yeah,
three of them were in good shape to begin with. And so we've just got this pan across the car
yeah,
of, you know, the all three of them are in, terrible shape. Um, and had they not been picked up for a second season, that's it.
uh,
That's
yeah,
where this show ends. Found the yellow-eyed demon, found dad, couldn't kill the yellow-eyed demon. It gets away. All three Winchesters are dead. The end.
yeah. Which would be a really sucky way to end the season.
So sucky. Yeah, like that would
Yes.
have been a huge letdown. I want to talk really briefly about this crash here. So, because for time and budgetary constraints, they only had one bite at this apple. Like they only had one chance. And the plan had been for the tractor trailer to hit the Impala. The Impala was rigged to flip up and over and barrel roll. But all of that went seamlessly, but the Impala got hung up under the bumper of the tractor trailer. And so the stunt driver really saved it, honestly, that it could have been just a catastrophic accident, but he managed to, hold it together and he pushed the car straight at one of the cameras. So we've got that great shot of the car just coming straight at the camera. Director Kim Manner's response was, well, that didn't fucking work. The first AD, one of their two first ADs, Kevin Parks, his wife Jill was one of the camera operators, and she held her ground as a tractor trailer pushing an Impala came straight at her. And she just held her ground and kept filming. And the thing stopped about 40 feet away from her. And so they had set up three cameras. They had one inside the Impala. Um, and what they had done was, so some of it was filmed, poor man's process on a sound stage. They had had the regular window, and then they had put a protective. window inside that, like a half an inch away, so that they could break the glass. And then they had two cannons on the floor next to Jeffrey Dean Morgan to fire the rubberized fake glass. And they had to time that perfectly so that like the window would shatter and the glass would hit John. You know, the glass would hit John. So they had to time all of that, to have it look seamless. Last thing I'm going to mention is knowing the car was going to be destroyed, Jared took the steering wheel cap. He took the Impala logo off the steering wheel cap and he kept that. I mean, it was destroyed in the wreck. And that is it. That is
Yay!
our episode. So,
Let's see how
Lynn,
we did on our cards.
indeed, my goodness, this is exciting. This is very
So yeah,
exciting.
I have five in a row,
You have
four in
five in
a
a
row,
row.
three in a row. So
Two,
yeah, I have
five,
one,
eight,
two,
10,
three, four.
13 total.
I have
Look
one,
at you.
two,
I
three, four,
think
five,
the most
six,
I have in a
seven,
row
eight,
is
nine, 10,
three.
11, 12. Yeah.
I do. I have three in a row, and then total 1, 4, 7, 10. So, my friend, you are the winner and still champion. Yay!
So I am
Congratulations.
I am still hoping though to get a five in a row where they are all the things from the same episode.
You did. You did. Cheers. I am toasting your victory.
Have one for me. I think I've had plenty.
So, okay. One thing you loved, one thing you hated. Holy
um,
crap, this is a good
One
one.
thing I loved was, oh man, there's so much to choose from. So,
This is a
so,
big one.
so much to choose from.
This is a big one.
Oh yeah. I've got to choose the moment when Sam chooses Dean over his dad,
Yeah,
not
that's a big one.
knowing, not knowing, because he doesn't know 100% that it's the yellow-eyed demon. So
No.
he's trusting his brother
Yes.
over his father
Yep.
in that moment, which is huge.
It's huge. And I mean, we started to see it. We talked about it in Dead Man's Blood, where, the dynamics had shifted,
Mhm.
from John and Dean against, not against, but like, where Sam was the odd man out and now John is the odd man out. So we
Yeah.
started to see it then, but yeah, this is a huge moment. And again, I don't want to say too much here, but keep this in mind in the seasons to come that this is where the brothers start. And it'll be interesting over the next 14 seasons to see where they go from here.
Yeah. So
And one
yeah.
thing you
So one thing I did not, I mean, I already kind of mentioned it, but that one scene going into the building just annoys the hell out of me.
Yeah, I
And
agree. That was a little convenient, and yeah, they could have done something that would have made more sense that wouldn't have taken any longer. Yeah,
yeah, I was
I
just
I agree.
if it was a timing filming issue, have somebody walk out. Like if they didn't want to have him pick a lock, just have someone walk out and have him
Yep, scoot in.
sneak in. Like just have him slip in.
Yep, I
There's
agree.
a million ways to do that where not don't have the security box right there. Like
Yeah.
there's 100 ways to do that where that would not have looked so ridiculous.
I didn't love that. For me, again, this episode is amazing. It
Oh,
it
it is.
really
It's
is.
absolutely amazing.
Yeah, there's an embarrassment of riches here. For me, I'm gonna point to the moral ambiguities around Meg's exorcism. Because it raises a lot of questions. We talked about this already about, if the only thing keeping the vessel alive, I'm doing this a lot, this episode for some reason, is the demon inside it, is letting the person die free of possession a mercy, and one of the things that I really love about Supernatural in general is they they're not afraid to ask these difficult questions and then not provide tidy answers,
Hmm.
that they don't wrap things up neatly with a bow at the end of 42 minutes every week, that they leave people to wrestle with these questions, and I think it's a really fantastic piece of storytelling. For me, the thing that I didn't love was the yellow-eyed demons Bond villain monologue at the end, and I mean they knew it, and they even had Dean say something about the, oh, for the love of Christ, stop monologuing, so like they knew it and they addressed it, and again, I think all three actors, particularly Jeffrey Dean Morgan, that their performances are so good that you're just like staring at them acting. That it 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 keeps it from being annoying. But I feel like maybe there could have been a more elegant way to accomplish that. Um,
Yeah, see, and
okay.
that didn't bother me at all because
Yeah.
it was, he's so good and it was
Yeah.
conveyed so well that that didn't phase me whatsoever.
Yeah. I get it. I get it. I just the villain monologue is such a cliche. It it attracted my attention because I feel this show is so good it doesn't need to lean on cliches.
Oh yeah.
So I think that's why it attracted my attention. But with that, I'm gonna have one more, and then it will be last call.
Absolutely.
Mm, okay, last call. So thanks for coming along with us for the ride. If you like what we're doing here, please be sure to tell your friends, like our videos, comment, subscribe so it's easier for other people to find us too. And if you see an SPN family member out in the wild, tell them about our show. We love
Abs-
hearing from our SPN family. Please feel free to, again, comment, send us an email at hunterfuelpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Hunter Fuel Podcast. In our next episode, we will be doing our wrap up for all of season one. And we're going to talk about how we're going to play Supernatural as we do our season wrap up. It's going to be something of a lightning round. But until then, be safe, everybody. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.